Look, I'm not saying I'm bad at my job. I'm just saying that when they handed me the maintenance manual for Orbital Station Kherix-9, it was in a language I couldn't read, glowed faintly purple, and made a humming noise when I touched it. "Is this thing supposed to hum?" I asked the docking attendant. He stared at me with these huge, unblinking eyes, and I mean huge, like someone stuck dinner plates on either side of his gray, scaly head. Then his skin flickered from gray to pale blue. His tail, which had been hanging loose behind him, went rigid. "That is, the manual is biologically encoded," he said slowly, backing away. "It interfaces with Quarixian neural. You are human." "Yeah, got that on my resume and everything." I tucked the humming book under my arm. It felt warm. "So where's the maintenance bay?" He pointed down the corridor with one clawed hand, while his other hand fumbled for his comm device. His scales were definitely bluer now. "Great, thanks." I headed off, the manual still humming cheerfully against my ribs. The corridor was pretty nice, actually. Wide metal hallway, glowing blue panels on the floor that I assumed were lights, or maybe heating elements, or possibly some kind of alien religious symbol. Who knows? There were these breathing apparatus stations mounted along the walls every few meters, which seemed excessive. How bad was the air up here? I took a deep breath. Seemed fine to me. I passed a few more Quarixians in the hallway. They all had that same gray, scaled skin, those big, wide-set eyes, and long tails that dragged behind them. One guy had a little dorsal ridge running down his spine that poked up through his uniform. They all stopped and stared as I walked by, their scales shifting from gray to various shades of blue. "Morning," I said cheerfully. One of them dropped the data pad they were holding. It clattered on the floor, screen flickering. The maintenance bay was exactly where the attendant said it would be, which was a pleasant surprise. I'm used to getting lost. The bay itself was chaos incarnate. Tools scattered everywhere, exposed wiring hanging from the ceiling like metallic vines, chemical storage containers stacked haphazardly, and several repair pods that looked like oversized coffins. "Fantastic," I muttered, setting down my still humming manual on a workbench. Immediately, 3 tools nearby started vibrating in sympathy. That's probably fine. I grabbed what looked like a standard circuit tester, or possibly a beverage container, the labeling was unclear, and headed toward the nearest exposed panel. My job, as I understood it, was to maintain optimal function of secondary systems. The fact that I didn't know what the secondary systems were seemed like a problem for future Harlan. I pried open the panel. Wires everywhere, color-coded in colors I was pretty sure didn't exist in normal human visible spectrum. Some of them were pulsing. "Should wires pulse?" I asked the empty room. The room, wisely, didn't answer. I poked one of the wires with my maybe circuit tester. There was a sharp pop, a shower of sparks, and suddenly the gravity in a 3-foot radius around me just stopped. Oh, that's not good. I was floating now, arms windmilling, the circuit tester spiraling away toward the ceiling. The tools on the nearby workbench started drifting upward in a slow-motion fountain of wrenches and screwdrivers. Okay, don't panic," I told myself, panicking. I grabbed a floating wrench and threw it at the floor to propel myself toward the wall. This was a mistake. The wrench bounced off the floor, shot back up, and hit me in the shoulder. "Ow! Physics, come on!" I managed to grab a handhold and pull myself to the edge of the zero-gravity bubble. The second I crossed the threshold, gravity reasserted itself with enthusiasm. I fell 5 feet straight down, landed on my back, and a wrench landed on my stomach. Great start, Harlan. Really professional. The door to the maintenance bay slid open with a hydraulic hiss. A Quirixian stood in the doorway, dressed in what I assumed was an official-looking uniform with some kind of rank insignia. His gray scales were immaculate. His tail was coiled neatly, and his two large eyes were fixed on me with an expression I recognized from every boss I'd ever had. Deep, existential regret. "You are the human," he said. It wasn't a question. "Harlan," I said, standing up and brushing sparks off my jumpsuit. "Nice to meet you. I was just, testing the gravity systems. They're working great. Very intermittent." His scales flickered pale blue. "You've been on this station for 17 minutes. Has it been that long? Wow. Time flies when you're—" The floating tools behind me chose that moment to rain down with a series of metallic crashes. "When you're maintaining things." "I am Vex'thari," he said, his tail twitching in a way that seemed involuntary. "Station. Administrator. I was informed you required no supervision." "That's right. Very independent, self-starter. I've got this totally under control." Behind me, something electrical made a concerning whining noise. "That's, supposed to do that." Vex'thari's scales went from pale blue to a deeper blue, almost cobalt. He closed his eyes, both of them, very deliberately, took a breath, then opened them again. "The manual," he said. "You have the neural interface manual." "Oh yeah." I grabbed the still humming book from the workbench. "This thing's great. Really intuitive. It is coded to Quirixian neurology. You cannot possibly—" He stopped as I opened the book and squinted at the glowing symbols. "What are you doing?" "Reading." The symbols were definitely dancing. "I mean, I think this one means caution, or possibly delicious food. Hard to say." His scales were now a dark, troubled blue. A vein I hadn't noticed before was pulsing on his elongated neck. "Give me the manual." Sure. I held it out. As he took it, our hands touched, and the manual let out a sharp beep and flashed bright orange. We both stared at it. "Did it just like us?" I asked. Vex'thari's tail was fully rigid now, stuck straight out behind him. I have never seen. This should not be possible." He snapped the book shut. It beeped sadly. "You will come with me to the command center. We must establish protocols." "Protocols! Love protocols! I'm great with rules." His scales went another shade darker. "I sincerely doubt that." The command center was impressive. A circular room with holographic displays floating in mid-air, transparent walls overlooking the docking bays where sleek ships came and went, and a general vibe of important things happen here. About a dozen Quirixians worked at various stations, their tails swishing as they manipulated holographic controls. Vex'thari led me to the center of the room. Every Quirixian looked up as we entered. Scales rippled from gray to blue like a wave. "Everyone," Vex'thari announced, his tail twitching. "This is Harlan, Human, Maintenance Division. He will be working on secondary systems." A Quirixian near the back dropped a data stylus. "Hey everyone," I waved. "Happy to be here. Quick question, what's a secondary system?" Vex'thari's scales achieved a new shade of blue I was pretty sure wasn't on any standard color chart. "Life support, gravity regulation, atmospheric controls, waste management." "Oh, the important stuff. Got it." I gave a thumbs up. "Wait, I broke the gravity earlier. Is that going to be a problem?" The entire command center went silent. One Quirixian's tail went completely limp. "You broke the gravity?" Vex'thari said very quietly. "Just a little bit. Like a 3-foot radius. It's probably fine now. Things fell down eventually. A female Quirixian strode over. She was slightly taller than Vex'thari, with a more pronounced dorsal ridge and a uniform that had way more insignia. Her scales were the darkest gray I'd seen, almost charcoal, and her eyes narrowed as she looked me up and down. "Security Chief Kess," she said, "you created a localized zero-gravity field in the maintenance bay." "Is that what that was? Neat." Her scales didn't turn blue. They went straight to purple. I didn't know they could do that. "Neat," she repeated, her voice flat. "You destabilized the gravitational compensator for an entire section of the station. But it's fixed now, right?" "No," Kess said. "It is not fixed. 3 crew members are currently stuck to the ceiling in Corridor 7. "Oh." I paused. "Are they okay?" "They are terrified," Kess said, her tail lashing. "One of them is the head of xenobiology. She has not stopped screaming." Vex'thari held up one clawed hand. His scales were now matching Kess's purple shade. "Chief Kess, I will handle the human. Please coordinate gravitational restoration." Kess looked at me, then at Vex'thari, then back at me. "If he touches anything in this command center—" "He will not touch anything," Vex'thari said firmly. "I'm very good at not touching things," I added helpfully. Kess's tail twitched violently, but she turned and stalked toward a control panel, barking orders at other crew members. Vex'thari guided me toward a side console, his hand on my shoulder in a grip that was probably meant to be reassuring, but felt more like a restraint. "Harlan, I must explain something about Quirixian culture." "Sure, I love learning." His scales flickered. "We value silence, contemplation, efficiency. Our work environments are structured around minimal disruption." "Makes sense, I can be quiet." "Additionally," he continued, his tail now drawing anxious circles on the floor, "we have strict protocols for system maintenance. Everything is documented, scheduled, and performed with extreme precision." Right. Precision. I'm very precise." A holographic display behind us suddenly went haywire, symbols cascading like a waterfall. 3 Quirixians rushed toward it, scales shifting blue in unison. "Did I do that?" I asked. "You are standing 17 feet away from that console," Vex'thari said wearily, "so probably not. But at this point, I am willing to believe anything." An alarm started blaring, a low, pulsing wail that made my teeth hurt. Red lights flashed along the ceiling. "What's that?" I shouted over the noise. Vex'thari's scales went from purple to a shade I can only describe as panic violet. He rushed to the nearest console, his clawed fingers flying over holographic controls. Kess appeared beside him. "The atmospheric regulator in the communal cafeteria just reversed polarity." "What does that mean?" I called out. "It means," Vex'thari said, not looking at me, "that everyone in the cafeteria is currently experiencing the atmospheric composition of our homeworld, which has 60% more nitrogen and significantly less oxygen than the standard station mix." "That sounds bad." "They are all unconscious," Kess said flatly. "That's definitely bad." Vex'thari spun toward me, scales now a shade of purple so dark they were almost black. "Where were you in the last 15 minutes?" "Here, in the command center, not touching anything." "Before that?" "The maintenance bay, but I only touched one panel and that was—" I stopped. Oh no. Was that panel connected to the cafeteria?" Vex'thari closed his eyes. His tail had gone completely rigid again. "Secondary systems," he said slowly, "are interconnected throughout the station. The gravitational compensator shares relay nodes with atmospheric regulation. So when I poked the wire, you created a cascade failure that is now propagating through multiple systems. He opened his eyes and looked directly at me. How? How is this possible in such a short time? I'm honestly asking myself the same question. Kess was already coordinating emergency response, her tail lashing as she barked orders. Medical teams were being dispatched to the cafeteria. Gravitational specialists were heading to Corridor 7. Somewhere in the distance, another alarm started blaring. "Harlan," Vex'thari said, his voice very calm in a way that suggested he was seconds from screaming. "I need you to do something for me. Anything. I want to help. Go to your assigned quarters. Stay there, touch nothing, speak to no one." "Are you sure I could touch nothing?" His scales were vibrating now, actually vibrating. "I will send you detailed protocols and safety procedures. You will study them. You will memorize them. You will not leave your quarters until you can recite every regulation backward and forward." "Okay, but go. Now, please." The way he said "please" made it very clear this was not a request. "Right, going, totally going." I backed toward the exit. "Just, which way to quarters?" Every Kherexian in the command center turned to look at me. Scales shifted in a wave of blue and purple. Vex'thari pointed toward the door with a trembling hand. "Out. Turn left. Follow the glowing panels. They will guide you." "The panels on the floor? The blue ones?" His eye twitched. "Yes. Those aren't religious symbols or anything." "Out!" I went out. The corridor was weirdly empty, probably because everyone was either stuck to a ceiling or unconscious in the cafeteria. I followed the blue panels, which helpfully changed to green arrows pointing forward. "Okay, Harlan," I muttered to myself. "First day. Could have gone better. Could have gone worse. Actually, not sure how it could have gone worse. But tomorrow's a new day. Fresh start. I'll read those protocols, learn the systems. Everything will be..." I turned a corner and walked straight into a maintenance cart someone had left in the middle of the hallway. The cart went flying, crashed into the wall, and approximately 40 different tools scattered across the floor in a deafening cacophony of metal on metal. Down the corridor, someone screamed. "Sorry," I yelled. "That wasn't a system failure, just regular human clumsiness." I picked up the cart, gathered as many tools as I could carry, and stuffed them back in haphazardly. One of them, some kind of plasma torch, ignited briefly, scorching the wall before I figured out how to turn it off. "This station has excellent fire suppression systems," I observed as foam sprayed from the ceiling, covering me and the cart and most of the corridor in white, sticky foam. I made it to my quarters looking like a foam monster from a budget horror film. The door slid open, revealing a small but functional room with a bed, a desk, a chair, and a large window overlooking the void of space. I collapsed onto the bed. Foam squished beneath me. My comm device beeped. I pulled it from my pocket, also covered in foam, and checked the message. "From Station Administrator Vex'thari. Subject: urgent." Mandatory protocols attached were approximately 300 pages of regulations, each one glowing with that same purple text that danced across the screen. 300 pages, I said to the empty room. By tomorrow, sure, absolutely doable. I opened the first page. The title read, Regulation 1, Fundamental Principles of Station Harmony. My comm device beeped again. From Security Chief Kess, subject, additional notice: do not leave quarters, do not touch door controls, do not interact with environmental systems. Do not. The message just ended with, do not. Welp, I said, scrolling through the regulations as symbols danced and my eyes started to cross. Tomorrow's going to be interesting. Outside my window, I could see a small maintenance pod drifting past, tumbling slowly end over end. Probably unrelated to anything I did. Probably. My comm beeped a third time. From Station Administrator Vex'thari, subject, Maintenance Pod. That was your pod. Please confirm you are not in it. I typed back, I'm in my quarters. Safe and sound? A long pause. Then, how is the pod in space? No idea. Another pause. Tomorrow we have a very long conversation about protocols. I set down the comm device and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere in the distance, another alarm started wailing. First day, I said to myself. Definitely could have gone better. The foam was starting to harden. I woke up at what I assumed was morning, hard to tell in space, covered in dried foam that had formed a crusty shell around my entire body. This is fine, I said, cracking off pieces like a weird human molting process. This is a totally normal way to start day 2. My comm device was beeping. 17 unread messages. From Vex'thari, 0600 hours, report to command center immediately upon waking. From Kess, 0700 hours, I am coming to your quarters. That last one was timestamped 3 minutes ago. Oh no, I stumbled toward the shower. The controls were mercifully simple. One button. I pressed it. Ice-cold water mixed with what smelled like industrial solvent blasted me from 17 different angles. I screamed. The water turned boiling hot. I screamed louder. Why would anyone design it like this? I sputtered. The door chimed, then slid open anyway. Kess stood there, her gray scales perfect, her tail coiled in that neat way that suggested complete control, her large eyes fixed on me. You do not answer your comm, she said. I was in the terrifying shower. Her scales flickered pale blue. You have been confined to quarters for 9 hours. In that time, 6 additional system malfunctions have occurred. I didn't leave. I've been here the whole time. Yes, Kess said slowly, her tail twitching. The malfunctions are ripple effects from yesterday. That's bad, right? 17 crew members have requested emergency transfers, and this morning, the entire waste management system reversed flow. I waited for her to elaborate. She didn't. I'm afraid to ask. Do not ask, Kess said firmly. Vex'thari wants you in the command center. I am here to escort you. We walked through the corridors together. The few Kherexians we passed immediately flattened themselves against the walls, scales shifting blue. Are they afraid of me? I whispered. Yes, Kess said simply. The command center doors slid open. Half the crew stations were empty. The Kherexians who remained looked exhausted, their scales dull gray, tails dragging. Vex'thari stood at the central console. His scales were now a permanent shade of worried blue, and there were dark circles under his large eyes. When he saw me, his tail went rigid. Harlan, he said, with the weariness of someone who'd aged a decade overnight. An alarm blared, higher-pitched, more urgent than yesterday's. Vex'thari's eyes went wide. He lunged for the console. No, 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 no. What's happening? I asked. The docking clamps on Bay 7 just released. A Kherexian at a nearby station reported, scales flashing purple. The transport ship is drifting toward the asteroid field. The docking clamps share a control relay with the gravitational compensators, another Kherexian said, voice trembling. The cascade from yesterday must have deployed the emergency release. Vex'thari finished. his scales now almost black. The system thinks the station is in danger. Everyone looked at me. "Oh no," I said. "You need to go to the maintenance bay and manually reset the docking control system," Vex'thari said grimly. "I will guide you through calm. Kess will accompany you. Do exactly what I say. Touch nothing else." "This is a terrible idea," Kess muttered, but she was already heading for the exit. The maintenance bay looked worse than yesterday. Tools were still floating near the ceiling, and scorch marks decorated the walls. "This is your workspace," Kess said, her tone making it very clear what she thought of that. My comm crackled. "Harlan, do you see the main control panel? Large, rectangular, covered in glowing symbols?" I looked around. "I see 12 things that match that description." A pause. "The one with red symbols." "Oh, yes, got it." I approached cautiously. "Carefully open the access hatch on the lower left." I flipped it open. Inside was a tangle of wires, each one a different, impossible color, all pulsing at different rates. "You should see a blue wire, third from the left, connected to a silver node." I squinted. "Vex'thari, there are like 50 wires in here. Some of them are colors I'm pretty sure don't exist." Kess leaned over my shoulder. "There," she pointed. "The cerulean one." "That's blue?" "That is cerulean," she said impatiently. "Humans have fewer color receptors. To me, that's basically purple." "It is not purple." "Harlan," Vex'thari's voice crackled. "The ship is 30 seconds from the asteroid field. Please." "Right." I grabbed what I thought was the blue wire. "This one? Do not pull it. Disconnect it from the silver node and reconnect it to the gold node." "Which one's the gold node?" Kess pointed to a small, glowing connector that was definitely more orange than gold. "That's orange," I said. "It is gold," Kess hissed, her scales flashing purple. I carefully disconnected the wire. It came free with a soft pop and immediately started sparking. "Why is it sparking?" I yelped. "That is normal. Connect it to the gold node, now!" I jammed the sparking wire toward the orange-gold node. It wouldn't fit. I pushed harder. "It's not fitting." "You have the wrong wire," Kess said, her voice deadly calm. "What?" "That is the violet wire. You need the cerulean wire." 20 seconds, Vex'thari shouted. Kess shoved me aside, her clawed hands darting into the panel with practiced precision. She grabbed a different wire, disconnected it, and snapped it into the node. The panel went dark, then lit up green. "Docking clamps. Re-engaged." Vex'thari's voice came through, shaky with relief. "The ship is secure." I sagged against the wall. "We did it." "I did it," Kess corrected. She turned to face me. "Harlan, how did you get this job?" "My resume said I was a maintenance technician." "And are you?" "I mean, I maintained stuff, back on Earth. Coffee machines mostly, sometimes printers." The silence was deafening. "Coffee machines," Kess repeated slowly. "Really complex coffee machines, industrial grade." Her tail went completely rigid. "You were hired to maintain a station with life support for 3,000 inhabitants, and your experience is with beverage dispensers." "When you say it like that," my comm erupted with Vex'thari's voice. "What? What? Did she say coffee machines?" "The industrial kind," Static crackled. Then, "I am going to find whoever approved your hiring and space them." "Harlan," Vex'thari continued, sounding like a man on the edge, "in 2 days you have caused 17 system failures, hospitalized 8 crew members, and nearly sent 40 passengers into an asteroid field, and your expertise involves coffee. Also printers," I offered weakly. Get him out of the maintenance bay. Kess grabbed my arm and dragged me toward the exit. Wait, I can help. I reached out to steady myself against the wall. My hand landed on what I thought was a handhold. It was a button, a big, red button. There was a deep thunk that reverberated through the entire station, then a low, ominous hum. Kess froze. Her scales went from purple to a color I didn't know existed, somewhere between white and transparent. Harlan, she whispered. What did you just press? The hum grew louder. Throughout the station, systems were activating. My comm exploded with voices. All docking bays opening. Artificial gravity failing. Life support switching to emergency reserves. Vex'thari's voice cut through. Harlan pressed the emergency evacuation sequence. The what? The failsafe. It opens all bays, reduces power, prepares for emergency shutdown. The entire station is evacuating. Through the walls, I could see docking bay doors opening. Ships began automatically undocking. How do I turn it off? You cannot. It requires a 6-hour reset cycle. Kess still gripped my arm. 6 hours of chaos because you leaned on a wall. I didn't know that was a button. It was red and glowing with a protective cover. She closed her eyes. Harlan, I am security chief. I have trained for 15 years. I have handled riots, pirates, and core meltdowns. She paused. You are the most dangerous thing I have ever encountered. That's kind of flattering. It is not a compliment. Back at my quarters, Kess manually overrode the door. Inside. Forever. Forever seems long. Forever. The door slid shut. My comm beeped. From Vex'thari, you are fired. From Vex'thari, I cannot actually fire you. Contracts are binding for 6 months minimum. From Vex'thari, I am trapped in a nightmare. From Kess, attendance for tomorrow's briefing dropped 53%. Sick leave increased 400%. 17 cases of stress-induced scale discoloration. This is your fault. I looked out the window. Ships were slowly returning. A maintenance drone sparked and crashed into a docking bay door. My comm beeped. From Vex'thari. Was that you somehow? No, I'm in my quarters. From Vex'thari. I no longer believe in coincidence. 5 months and 28 days, I said to the empty room. Another alarm blared somewhere. Or maybe not. A Quarixian in a spacewalk suit floated past my window, gesticulating wildly. I waved. They frantically tried to swim away. Yeah, I sighed. That's fair.